Hey there, welcome to Sea Power. Welcome to a mod showcase for a very interesting mod, which could be an indication of things to come. Over here we have an Iowa-class battleship, obviously, and I'm going to use her guns to just empty her magazines a bit. So we're going to use some of those 127mm or 5-inch guns to engage. I'm also going to use a couple of the 406mm shells in order to lay waste to some of these chilikins. What if they ever do? Nothing in particular, I just need to waste some ammo. So we're going to at least reduce the amount of supplies that we have aboard this ship. Alright, ceasefire. I want you to wait for the Algol. This is a resupply ship, and this works. And that's the beauty of this mod. This is the repower, so not sea power, but repower, naval supply in the Missile Age. As made by Mullermeister. So you might know him from the Amazing Alliterations campaign, the EU-focused campaign, that is. Now he's figured out a way to make these ships actually do something useful. There are some caveats, though. It's still a work-in-progress system, at least by the developers, and as such, there might not be as many modding options for it at the moment as we would like. That's one. Two, you can resupply some ammo types, at least at this point of recording, and some you can't. He says there are some limitations on resupply that are partially intentional and partially a work in progress from my understanding. Most guns and AA missiles can be replenished without issue, but most anti-ship missiles and torpedoes cannot. I've also had more success replenishing noisemakers than chaff for some reason. Sometimes every spent piece of ammo is replenished immediately, sometimes half the magazine has to be emptied first before any resupply happens. So yeah, it's a bit shaky, but it does work. The Iowa now has 2,604 shells for her 5-inch, and she has 1,211 shells for her 406mm. 15 inchers. 16s? I'm not sure. I think 16s. Now, what you need to do is make sure both ships are traveling below 10 knots. So, in this case, that amounts to a head 1/3. And if they're not doing both that speed, it's not going to work. What you can also see here is that this ship has a resupply system. It's currently not supplying any units, and it has all of its ordnance points available. So it is possible to resupply, and it should start resupplying pretty much momentarily, because we are in range. And we do have enough shells available. You can even do this while the ship is firing, because take note, I'm going to use the 5-inch gun to start using a couple of that 2,712mm ammo. And the resupply ship should start resupplying them. See, it just kind of sticks at 2706. It just instantly gets resupplied. So I'm going to stop, and there we go. 2708, 2712. So it resupplies. But it doesn't do everything. If I launch a harpoon, the harpoon is not resupplied. Which, I guess it makes sense. Resupplying these tubes at sea might be doable, but it's probably not as easy as just transferring a couple of boxes of shells over, bringing those down to the magazine, and making sure those get ready. For chaff, it doesn't quite work. Chaff does not get resupplied. Noisemakers do. Noisemakers typically get resupplied almost instantly. Yet, one ship seems to work very... There we go, resupplied. One ship seems to get them instantly, the next ship doesn't. I haven't quite found a system as to why this works or doesn't work. You can do the same thing with submarines. The submarine over here is the USS Baltimore. And I'm going to shoot a couple of torpedoes just to empty out her magazines. We're going to also drop a couple of noisemakers. This is a great waste of ammunition, but whatever. I'm going to go up to 1/3, and I'm going to wait for this merchant to come in. This medium tanker is a sort of stand-in unit to resupply, because the Blue 4, they do have something that can resupply, such as the Algol, but apparently submarine tenders are specific. So a medium tanker, in this case, is used as a stand-in to resupply the Baltimore. And tell the Baltimore to go and wait. The ship is not nearly as fast as the Algol. Algol can do, what, 33 knots, I think? Yeah, she's really fast. This medium tanker, however, is not. So please be patient if you're ever trying to resupply. What I found it does not work for is carrier loadout. Over here we have the Nimitz. And of course the Nimitz is there to launch aircraft. So I'm going to say I want to have an F-14 loaded out with an air-to-air intercept. Note I have 21 loadouts available. AIM-54s, Phoenix missiles, they're pretty expensive. So I'm going to run one. I'm going to say I want you to launch. I'm going to quickly adjust the settings so I don't have to wait half an hour. Flight deck timings is now arcade. So, ta-da, we can instantly launch the helo and the aircraft is now down to 3 minutes. After those 3 minutes, the aircraft will take off, and I think up until such a time, the air-to-air intercept loadout is still aboard the ship. There we go, F-14 takes off, la-di-da-di-da, whoosh. Okay, what I think doesn't work yet is resupplying from their stowage to their stowage. So it's not like you can transfer over missiles from this ship to be used on aircraft from this carrier. Sadly not. That is a bit of a downer, because ideally you just go, hey, I want to transfer some of the supplies from this ship to the carrier. And I can see the supplies on this ship. I can see it has ordnance points. I don't think you can actually find that on the carrier. Because yes, I have the flight deck, but I don't know where to find the ordnance points. This is just the general unit. That's just the menu, of course. See, it does want to resupply noisemakers. That is if we're doing 1/3. There, noisemaker resupplied. Chaff resupplied. Air-to-air intercept not resupplied. Unfortunate. But hey, it is work in progress, both the game and the mod. So it's possible that we will see this. And I'd be rather surprised if we didn't. Now, going back to the submarine, which should at this point be closer. The merchant is coming into range. Range is 1.5 nautical miles and 10 knots. It also says most units can rearm 2 units simultaneously unless otherwise specified. For example, the Dawn-class submarine tender, they can resupply 4 submarines at the same time. Good luck shepherding 4 submarines into an area about 1.5 miles, because the anti-collision system is going to kick in. And they probably don't want to be quite that close together. Now, I do think you can do this while stationary, so let's check. Of course, I'm going too fast right now, but that's intentional. Baltimore is at 10 torpedoes and 18, make that 16 noisemakers. I'm going to go all stop. 10 noisemakers, 14 torpedoes now and 22 noisemakers. So you can do this while stationary, you can do this while maneuvering, it doesn't matter. The submarine doesn't even have to surface. Isn't that convenient? I don't know how they can pull that off, but apparently that's a feature. You can just have sort of, say, the aura of the merchant be within 1.5 miles of the submarine, and that's enough. So it's... I don't know how to really translate that, like a healing aura from the ship. But hey, if they can make that work, I wonder if we're going to see aerial resupplying next. Not so much aerial resupplying like, hey, fly behind this C-130 and get a new load of AIM-54s. Would be funny. Would be slightly overpowered and a bit broken. But what we could see is an aircraft transferring fuel to another aircraft. And that could indeed be very interesting to have. Because sometimes you might just have units which don't quite have the range, and you really do want to have them get that, well, get that attack off, so to speak. In that case, you might need aerial resupplying. You might need aerial refueling. And if something like this works, with an aura where you can resupply chaff and resupply flares, why not have that with resupply fuel? That would, at least in my experience, or at least in my logic, be a logical next step. Now, link down below to the mod in the description. It doesn't have any requirements, just make sure you enable it and do some testing with it. I think that this is a mod that's going to be a sort of show of things to come. I know the devs are working on a resupply system, and of course they have a plan for it. It's down in the timeline somewhere, it's down in the planning. But until such a time, you can use this. So if you have a scenario where you might want to go, well, I want to have a ship start out with less ammo and then force the player to resupply, I suppose you could do that. I wonder if that'll work, though. So what I'm going to do here is place a supply ship in formation with this. I'm going to say I want you to have an Algol with you. I'm going to zoom in a bit. The Algol is going to sit right next to the Iowa. Iowa, however, has already done battle. And that means the Iowa doesn't have all of her ammunition available. This is the randomized spawn point. Oh, that's new. Nice. Loadouts. Huh. You used to have this. You used to have this. Where you could say a unit has spent a certain amount of loadout. But I guess that's currently not available. I wouldn't really know where else to look for that. But hey, if that's going to be possible, so if you can say, well, this Iowa has spent, I don't know, half her magazine, or this submarine is down to 3 torpedoes, you can choose if you want to sneak your way out, get to a resupply point, get your torpedoes back and go back, or engage with whatever you have left. Up to you. I think it's a really nice system. I think it's a show of sign, or a sign of things to come. And I'm very much looking forward because it just adds that extra layer of possibilities. Also of realism to some extent. Because, of course, these ships are not perfect. Oh, I didn't actually... Huh. That's unintended, but no less funny. If you can resupply ships, that's gonna, especially with these with these larger missions, it's going to definitely extend the options that you have. It's going to extend your mission. It's going to extend your defenses as well, because as long as you have chaff, you have options. So in a case like this, if I can even select the Iowa, I suppose I could just keep throwing chaff out, and it's going to get resupplied, because, well, actually, noisemakers get resupplied faster. Anyway, long story short, you can keep the ship in the fight for quite a while longer. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Whoop. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon for more derp power.